All right, all right, all right, all right. Shalom, shalom, Sister Deborah coming again. And this time it's going to be a short video, but I had to come back because once I got off and I upload that video, warning, um, I felt the Spirit is giving me a some sort of comfort in that message in the things that I was seeing. Because I myself, I don't run to the flesh for comfort. I know that the comfort rests within me, so I seek Him. Um, and this is what He gave me, and I might just list this, upload it tomorrow morning. And this is what He gave. He first wanted me to go back to Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2. And in Genesis chapter 2 and verse 18, he says, this is what he's saying to me. And I want you women out there to listen. He said, and Ahiah said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a help meet for him. Help meet for him. Now, if you look at that there, you see it says for him. This here shows you that the Father is needing some things met, okay? And He knows that man holds the sperm. So woman has to be created to meet the will of the Father to bring forth, okay? So He wanted me to see here in how He was willing to say, after Genesis 1, Genesis 2, the chapters all the way through, everything He created, He said it was good. But He wanted me to really look at how He said that it was not good. And then He wanted me to go down to Genesis chapter 2 and verse 21. And it says, and Ahiah caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instant thereof. The Father want me to let you all know that when He created Adam, okay, Adam had the breath of life placed in him, and he was giving the image of Ahiah, which is a spirit, okay? So therefore, the same like unto Eve, he had given her the breath of life, and she was given the image. Well, where would you find that at? When you go to Genesis chapter 1 and verse 26, let's start there. Now, we're talking to 2 chapters when everything was perfect. And it says in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, and Ahiah said, let us make man in our image. Okay. See, in our image, the image of Ahiah is a spirit. So He gave man as well a spirit. Now watch this here. After our likeness, and let them have dominion. Notice you see the word them. Okay. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowls, over the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over all the creeping things that creep upon the earth. Now, Ahiah is saying them as he and she, or you're going to see he and her. Watch this. Verse 27, Genesis chapter 1 and verse 27. So Ahiah created man in his own image. In the image of Ahiah created He him, male and female created He them. So the male got an image and the female received the image of Ahiah. Okay? So you go to 28, it says, and Ahiah blessed them. Now watch this here. And Ahiah said unto them, and as he began to tell them to be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, he wasn't saying man on man. He was saying man and woman. You see, that's when Ahiah had informed us of how he orchestrated it in the beginning. Just because Satan came down to take your mind don't mean it switched. Okay? Why is it Satan ways override what Ahiah ways were in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, 27, and 28? Why did we give all that power over to Satan to switch the purpose of them? Then he looked and he saw man in the garden, Genesis chapter 2. And he said, and Ahiah said, it is not good. Now, me in the class, I say to the father, I said, well, what you mean it ain't good? Everything you created, you said it was good. What made it not good now? Okay, because man was not them. He was just him. Okay, so therefore he knew that according for it to be good, it has to be the way he said it in Genesis, them and not him. So it was pretty much him saying that I got to make them as it was in the beginning. I have to make them so that it will be good according to the way I created it as them and not him. Okay. What I'm gonna show you where they got off the trail. Okay. And then he says in verse 21, and Ahiah caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs. Taking one of his ribs, you can go right now and take a rib out of a man. It's not going to make a woman. Okay. And that's what he's trying to give me comfort today, to understand why so much wicked started after these two verses. When sin hit, anything goes. And he said that is what's going on in the men mind today. They have taken it and ran and didn't really think that, wait a minute, what about what Ahiah say? Should we run on with Adam and Eve at the tree of knowledge and good and evil? And that's what they did. They think they got enough knowledge to practice their good and evil, and it's going to go that way without thinking, okay, but that's not how he orchestrated it in the beginning and called it good. So what he was explaining to me, you see here, Deborah, where the rib out of the man, just wanting them to understand they had some connection to one another. Okay. He said, but don't forget that same breath I gave him, I gave her. That same image I gave him, I gave her. Because that's how I brought her to him. And what it says, and the rib which Ahiah had taken from man made him woman, and he brought him unto her. Because Ahiah had to do what he does best. He gave her a spirit, his image, and he gave her also the breath of life. She had life when she came to Adam. Okay. And you bet it didn't come from a bone. Ahiah was showing me how they got totally off of balance. Totally. Because they're taking that bone into an order, into a category that he did not take it. You see? And that's where you see men are today. They have placed themselves so above a woman to the point they have totally 100 times 100 trillion gone away from the perfect will where it says them in Genesis. Okay. Now, here he was saying that they even take the ideal of the rib and make it what they want it to be without thinking. She has the same image in her of me, Deborah, and my breath of life as he has it. He has not caused them to put her under their feet and stand on top of her and bash her to the point that she is not worth anything. If Ahiah told her to do what? Together they are to be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth. He said they don't want to teach that. They don't want to preach that. They don't want to go nowhere near my order. They want to go to the garden and go to the tree of knowledge of good and evil as Abraham and Isaac, as Adam and Eve did. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. So he just trying to give me some comfort of understanding the order in which they have taken and the route. It started way back in Genesis. And that's why he done away with it early, to destroy it and end it. And even though he knew it was going to boot right back up. Okay. He knew it. Solomon and Gomorrah and it wasn't just Solomon and Gomorrah. The king of Judah, the ex-king of Judah, they were doing it in Judges. So if you really read it, you can see. And then you wonder, a lot of people, especially women, they don't look at Leviticus 18. Women need to look at Leviticus 18 and see how the Father is telling men how to stay away from these women. He's not saying it's because they to tell them not to do something. He's saying that this is what I know you're going to do. This is what I know you're going to do. But I'm telling you, don't do it, even though I know you're going to. And this is what you see today. Okay? This is what you see today. And that's why they feel that, how would he say it is not good that man shall be alone? What? So her purpose is only for you to get pleasure, lust, fantasy, pleasure off of her body, and her to labor and just have children. That never been the Father's will, because it tells you right here in the righteous will of the Father. It tells you right here. And Ahiah blessed them, and Ahiah said unto them, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, and have dominion over the sea, the fish, the fowls, and every living creature. And he tells them in 29, and Ahiah said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree. See, he wasn't saying that to him. He was saying it to them, male and female. But so you see how did she end up being so far under his feet to where she has to submit to him and be in the full order of his lust, his stupidity, his how would I say it? Disrespectful, his everything. But she has to be under his feet where Satan's supposed to be. And that's how they're treating the women. And they expect the women not to want to come out from under the feet. Just stay under there. And that's what the men in the Hebrew decide. They're going to go back and they're going to change this. Now, the Father wants me to go to chapter 3 of Genesis. Sin has hit, and he wants me to go to Genesis. And he said here, Genesis, in verse 16, unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception, and in sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over thee. Now you got to understand, rule over don't mean she's not supposed to look up. She's not supposed to do anything but sit in the house and be a sex toy for your lust and your pleasure, to be a pleasure for your flesh, where you feel you a king, you a leader, you a ruler. So she has to fulfill that king in you, fulfill that ruler, fulfill that order of control. No, that's not what he's saying. Ruler meaning you'll have the first and the last say so. See, they took the rule out and they decide to take on a slave master trait. And that's what they're doing. Even in the dressing of the women, they decided to take out a slave trade uh, 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 order, the way they have read and seen and heard that the slave owners done to their slaves. That's what these men are doing. They're feeling justified and clarified as long as they got a woman under their feet and under the submissive of their will, of their lust and their pleasure, their order, under their total control. Not thinking, wait a minute, she got the Father's image in her. She got the Father's breath. Wait a minute, I need to stand down a little bit here. Something wrong with this. Now you are controlling not only the image of the Father that's in her, you're controlling her every move of her breath. And Ahiah didn't, where is that in here telling you to do that? He didn't tell you to do that. All because they took the definition of rule and went out of order. And they looked and never thought, well, okay, let's go back to everybody in the Bible who ruled. You see? They'll find out that what they're doing is they took on the trait of the slave master, that type of rule. That's what they took on. And to me, that shows me as a prophetess in the wilderness that the Hebrew men are some of the dumbest men on the face of the earth. It's not important how much you can build. That's the talent of the hand. And that too is something a higher can give one. But the truth of the matter that they are naive, self-centered, self-motivated, wants to be a boast and put up on pedestals, wants to be something that Ahiah has not called them to. But they have chosen these positions in the flesh to override anything that Ahiah has called in the righteous will, in the righteous order. I heard a man tell me that the righteous order, I like that because the righteous order is this. Everything that is and was and shall be, all of it is his will. But according for him to get the righteous will, he have to have also and allow the unrighteous will to take its course. It's just like hot and cold. It's like up and down. Let's go there. In Genesis chapter 3, let me show you an example. And this is where 99.9 of the men are totally, 99.1 trillion are lost. That means they're gone. There's no hope for. Okay, and this is where it's at. Here in Genesis chapter 3, he said in verse 22, and Ahiah said, behold, man is become as one of us, to know, meaning having the knowledge of good and evil. And now, listen to what he said. And now, listen to what he's saying. Lest he put forth his hand and take of the tree of life and eat and live forever. So while these men are trying to make these men kings and leaders and rulers and women submissive and all of this, guess what? You are missing out. Because the first thing you should be trying to do is seek ye the kingdom of heaven. Because the knowledge of good and evil is off the chain. That means you done took on sin. Okay? And he's saying here, he said, and now lest thou put forth his hand and take also the tree of life. See, men thinking that they supposed to take the wisdom and knowledge and understanding of the flesh of man. No, you're supposed to be seeking ye the kingdom of the Most High or higher. That's where you're going to put forth your hand and take of the tree of life. That's how you get that. But you can't get it out of the mouth and a loud mouth of a man. You have to be able to reach for it in your spirit for the tree of life. And what did he say you do with it? And eat and live forever. But see, they're not looking for that because the pleasure has overweighed the desire for eternal life. And it's sad, but it's the truth. A lot of them they could care less about the eternal life. A lot of them don't even care about the promised land, which I wouldn't all be caught up in the promised land, but they don't even care about that. They more so steadfast, unremovable in being stupid on the earth and building their tower here on the earth to please their flesh. And that's what they prefer that. So this is where you're seeing that the woman has to also take of the tree of life. But if she's under such heavy submissive will of her father, her husband, and his under him as he ruling, controlling her everything, then she's not free. She's like a slave. And that's what they did. They brought another captivity on top of a captivity. So how can you be in captivity and have your wives in captivity? In your captivity? Does that make any sense? No. First of all, one thing you don't want to control is spirits of another human being. And when you bring them to the sum of nothing, not only do you got before you the flesh of that woman, you got them spirits she's dealing with. And let me tell you something. A lot of them spirits is setting up to go up against you. Those spirits ain't sitting there saying, oh, he's a king, he's a leader, he's a ruler, he's my husband, he's this and he's that. No, they're not. No, they're not setting up. They're going up against you right before you in your own house. Look at David. Look at Jacob. They're not doing what you think they're doing. But because you think you can override the Father in the spirit realm and live in the natural of your flesh and the pleasure therein, then the Father allow you. He would allow you because you never know. Without hot, there's no cold. Without cold, there's no hot. Without up, there's no down. Without down, there's no up. Without light, there's no darkness. Without darkness, there's no light. You get what I'm saying? That means that there's two. So while you're trying to please the flesh, then there's a spirit a part of you that is forsaken and anorexia because you're trying to do the things that pleases your flesh mind set that you've been told that make you a man, that make you somebody, that makes you all up high, and you this and you that. How you gonna be that in the land of a captivity? How can a king be a king when he in captive? Can a king be a king in prison? Can a king be a leader while he's in prison? Can a king rule from his prison cell? That's where you at. So all this phony makeup and, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a ruler, I'm submissive, getting submissive. Wait a minute, how can anyone be submissive to you and you in captivity? You in prison. You got wives submitting to you and you in prison. See, they don't think like that because they don't understand it. They never owned the curse, first of all, so they don't pay any attention to anything. A lot of things like Genesis, one man said, we don't get into Genesis 1 and 2. You sick because that's your foundation of this whole book. If you want to do some study, Genesis 1 and 2. Rest of it, you can bypass it. The Ruach can do the rest, but Genesis stands firm and tall. You just don't understand. No, it ain't that you don't understand it. It chastises you in so many ways. So as the Father was showing me that, now listen to what he says. Where is it at? In verse 20, let's finish that 22. Let's go back. Genesis 3 and 22. And Ahiah said, behold, the man is become as one of us to know, have the knowledge of good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand and take also the tree of life and eat and live forever. That's all spiritual, you guys. So all this flesh stuff and you all are taking for it don't mean nothing. And it's not going to, you're not going to be able to take of the tree of life if you're taking of the things that pleases the flesh all the time. Or you're taking the things that pleases the flesh. Because then you got your wisdom in the flesh, you got your knowledge in your flesh, and you got your understanding in your flesh. Because you heard the mouth of a man and didn't hear the voice of the Most High. He said, he that knoweth his voice, hears his voice. See, and that's what they don't understand. It's not a voice out of a man's mouth. Ahiah's voice don't come that route. You see? So if you call yourself holy, and you say you have the Holy Spirit. No, you don't. Not if you still hearing the commandments and the order and the rule of a man. You have to hear the Father. And if the father don't come and chastise you and discipline you and correct you in your ways in which you have done past time, then you stuck, because you living on what somebody told you. But how you gonna check you with what he gave you before then? Those are the one that's gonna really make you look lower than low. It's not that the family you in now, cause a man and gave you that. It's gonna be the family that you forsaken. That's how a higher rumble. In case these men don't know that, they could care less. But in verse 23, therefore Ahiah sent him forth from the garden of Eden to tilt the ground from hence he was taken. Verse 24, so he drove out the man in his place at the east of the garden of Eden, a cherubim and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. And I like that because it's showing you that the Father always had the tree of life present. And just because what happened when they stand before judgment, the tree of life has already been there present all the way to Revelation, to the end. They just going to be then chose to do what Eve and Adam did. Go straight to the tree of knowledge and good and evil. After all the trees that was there, tree of life, other tree. No, they went straight to the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the one that they were commanded not to. And that is what men are doing today. And they have no sense of spirit and truth. They're resting nowhere in them. Because spirit and truth would have told them, seek ye me first. Don't seek the voice of man. Don't put your trust nor your money, your energy, and your time in the mouth of a man, or I would say manipulation, but it's pretty much most of them are gone, you know. And it's a sad thing because if a lot of men would have, but then a lot of them, their father did it to them, so it don't matter. It's so much that has been done to the men to where they can't see you've been wounded from a man and he's been wounded from another man. This didn't start with a woman. This started with men wounding men, fathers wounding their sons, sons wounding their sons, sons wounding their sons, over and over and over. And here we are today. These weak-minded men are looking out of the voice of a man to control them from here on. That's sad. That's sad. And not seek ye the kingdom first. He said, take of the tree of life. That's seek ye the kingdom first. Oh, no, they don't want that. They want to follow the mouth of a man because he's offering them pleasure for the flesh. So I say unto you all, I hope you got something out of it. And that will be, I will upload this tomorrow morning, and this will be part 2 of warning of warning. So I say unto you, shalom.